Admiral John Carter stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense station. His weathered face showed no emotion as the alien transmission ended. The large screen before him went dark. The room fell silent. 20 senior officers waited for him to speak. "They want us to surrender," he said finally. "They want Earth to become their servants." The Galactic Council, a group of 17 alien species, had made contact with humanity 3 days ago. At first, people celebrated. Humans were not alone in the universe. But the Council had not come as friends. They had come as masters looking for new slaves. "How long do we have?" asked General Emma Wright, head of Earth's ground forces. 2 weeks, Carter replied. "Then their war fleet arrives." Carter turned to his personal tablet and opened a classified file. He showed it to the others in the room. On the screen was an image of a sleek black warship unlike any vessel humans had built before. "This is the U.S. Defiant," he said. "For 15 years, we've been building her in secret beneath Neptune's clouds. She uses technology we found in an alien ship that crashed on Mars decades ago." The officers looked at the image with a mix of hope and doubt. "One ship?" General Wright asked. "Against their entire fleet?" Carter nodded. "One ship is all we have. One ship that might save humanity." 6 hours later, Captain Lisa Morgan walked through the tight corridors of the U.S. Defiant. The ship hummed around her. This was her first time aboard as its commander. Engineers and crew members moved quickly, preparing for launch. They had trained for years for this moment, but none had expected it would come so soon. Commander Frank Douglas, her second in command, waited for her on the bridge. He stood tall and serious, his dark uniform crisp and perfect. "Captain on the bridge," he called as she entered. The bridge crew stood at attention. Morgan looked at each of them. Young faces, smart faces, scared faces. "At ease," she said. "We launch in 12 hours. Is the Defiant ready, Commander Douglas?" "As ready as she'll ever be, Captain," he replied. "Chief Engineer Green reports the main systems are online. Weapons, shields, and the phase shift drive are all functional." Morgan nodded and took her seat in the captain's chair. She had never sat in it before. It felt cold and hard. One day it would feel like home, she thought. If they lived long enough. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Carol Barnes from the communication station. "Admiral Carter is sending a fleet-wide message." "On screen," Morgan ordered. Admiral Carter's face appeared on the main display. His expression was grim but determined. "Men and women of Earth's defense forces," he began. 2 weeks from now, we face the greatest threat in human history. The Galactic Council has demanded our surrender. They expect us to bow down without a fight. They are wrong." Morgan watched as her crew straightened in their seats. "Humanity does not surrender," Carter continued. "We have faced extinction before, from disease, from war, from our own foolishness. Each time, we have survived. We will survive this too." He paused, then added, "The U.S. Defiant launches today. It carries with it humanity's best technology and our bravest crew. It will show these aliens that humans are not easy prey." When the message ended, the bridge was quiet again. All eyes turned to Morgan. "Navigation," she said calmly. "Set course for Neptune's edge. We'll meet the alien fleet before they reach Earth." Commander Douglas moved closer to her chair. "The odds are against us, Captain," he said quietly. Morgan looked up at him. "The odds have always been against us, Commander. Humanity made it to the stars anyway." She turned back to the main screen, which now showed the blackness of space. "And we're not going to lose our freedom now that we've finally reached them." The stars blurred outside the viewports as the U.S. Defiant reached its position at the edge of Neptune's orbit. Captain Lisa Morgan stood with her hands clasped behind her back. The ship had been in position for 3 days. The waiting was the hardest part. Contact. Lieutenant Carol Barnes called from her station. "Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Counted is at 30. No 40 vessels." Morgan turned to Commander Frank Douglas. Looks like they sent more ships than they promised. They're not taking any chances. The main screen showed dots of light growing larger as the Council fleet approached. The alien ships were strange to human eyes. Some looked like giant throwing stars, others like sea creatures made of metal. All hands to battle stations, Morgan ordered. The ship's lights dimmed to a red glow as alarms sounded throughout the Defiant. Chief Engineer Susan Green's voice came over the comm system. "Engine room ready, Captain. The phase shift drive is online." "Weapons stations report ready," added Commander Douglas. Morgan took her seat in the command chair. "Open a channel to the alien fleet." A moment later, an alien face appeared on screen. It had blue skin and 6 eyes arranged in a circle. Its mouth was a vertical slit that opened when it spoke. "Human vessel, I am Admiral Scathon of the Galactic Council Enforcement Fleet. Your species has rejected our generous offer. Surrender now, and we will spare your home world total destruction." Morgan's face remained calm. "This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the U.S. Defiant. We will not surrender. We suggest you leave our solar system immediately." The alien made a sound like laughter. "1 ship against 40. Your bravery is pointless." The screen went dark as the alien cut the connection. "They're powering weapons," Barnes reported. Morgan leaned forward. "Activate shields. Mr. Nelson, prepare to engage the phase shift drive on my mark." The first volley from the alien ships came as streams of energy that lit up space. The Defiant's shields glowed as they absorbed the attack. "Shields holding at 90%, Douglas reported, surprise in his voice. "The alien weapons should have done more damage. Now they know we have better shields than they expected." Morgan said, "Time to show them what else we can do. Engage phase shift drive." Lieutenant Paul Nelson tapped his console. "Phase shift engaged, Captain." The stars outside seemed to bend as the Defiant partially shifted into another dimension. To the alien fleet, the human ship appeared to vanish. "Bring us up behind their command ship," Morgan ordered. "Weapons lock on their engines." The Defiant reappeared behind the largest alien vessel. Before the Council ships could react, the human warship fired its main weapons. Beams of blue energy struck the alien command ship, cutting through its shields as if they weren't there. "Direct hit," Douglas announced. "Their flagship is venting atmosphere." Morgan nodded. "Phase shift again. Target the next largest ship." For the next hour, the battle continued in this pattern. The Defiant would appear, fire, and disappear before the aliens could respond effectively. One by one, the Council ships were disabled or destroyed. On the Council flagship, Admiral Scathon watched in horror as his fleet was systematically taken apart. "Impossible," he shouted as another of his ships exploded. "How can one vessel do this?" His second in command, a tall insect-like being, approached. "Admiral, we have lost 32 ships. The rest are too damaged to fight." Scathon's 6 eyes blinked rapidly. "Send a distress call to the Council. Tell them we need reinforcements. Tell them the humans have technology we have never seen before." Back on the Defiant, Morgan looked at the battlefield displayed on her screen. Disabled alien ships drifted through space. Some were breaking apart, their crews escaping in small pods. "Stand down from battle stations," she ordered. "Lieutenant Barnes, send a message to Earth. Tell them the first Council fleet has been defeated." A cheer went up from the bridge crew. Even Commander Douglas allowed himself a small smile. Morgan didn't smile. "This was just the first wave," she said quietly. "They'll be back, and in greater numbers. But now they know humans aren't easy prey. Lieutenant Nelson, set course for Earth. We need to prepare for what comes next." Screams filled the emergency meeting room at Earth Defense Headquarters. Admiral John Carter slammed his fist on the table, trying to restore order. "Silence," he shouted. The room gradually quieted. "We all feel the same anger and pain, but shouting won't bring back our people." 3 days had passed since the Defiant's victory against the Council fleet. Humanity had celebrated for less than a day before the terrible news arrived. While the Defiant had been fighting near Neptune, a separate alien force had attacked 3 human colonies in nearby star systems. New Eden, Harmony, and Liberty were gone. 8 billion people dead. They killed civilians who couldn't fight back, said General Emma Wright, her voice shaking. While we were busy with their main fleet, they sent ships around us. Captain Lisa Morgan sat quietly at the table. The Defiant had returned to Earth for repairs. Her ship had won the battle, but humanity had lost something much bigger. We should surrender now, said one of the colony representatives, before they kill more of us. Surrender isn't an option, countered Commander Frank Douglas. You think they'll be kind to us after we destroyed their fleet? Lieutenant Kate Wilson, a young intelligence officer with short red hair, stood up. Sir, permission to speak. Carter nodded. Go ahead, Lieutenant. I've been working on decoding the messages we captured from the alien ships, she said. I found something important. She connected her tablet to the room's main screen. Strange alien symbols appeared. This is a message from the Council leadership to Admiral Zgthon before the battle, Wilson explained. It says that humanity is to be completely wiped out, regardless of whether we surrender or not. The room fell silent. Are you certain of this translation? Carter asked. Wilson nodded. Yes, sir. The Council sees our technology as too dangerous. They believe we reversed engineered alien tech from a crashed ship. They're right, of course, but it means they won't stop until we're all dead. Carter looked around the table. Then our choice is clear. We fight or we die. But how? Asked General Wright. The Defiant is powerful, but it's just one ship. We can't defend every colony. Captain Morgan spoke for the first time. We don't defend. We attack. All eyes turned to her. The Council didn't expect us to have such advanced technology, she continued. They thought this would be easy. Now they have to protect their own worlds too. Admiral Carter nodded slowly. You're suggesting we take the fight to them? Yes, Morgan said. The Defiant can strike their worlds, force them to pull back their fleets to defend themselves. Chief Engineer Susan Green, who had been quiet until now, cleared her throat. Captain, before we left Neptune, I made some adjustments to our weapon systems. She paused. I think we can trigger artificial supernovas. Shocked faces turned toward her. You mean we could destroy entire star systems? Douglas asked. Green nodded. Based on the alien technology, yes. The system creates a chain reaction in a star. Once started, it can't be stopped. Morgan felt a chill run down her back. Such a weapon would make them no better than the Council. Admiral Carter spoke into the silence. I never thought I'd consider using a weapon like that, but we're fighting for our very survival. He turned to Captain Morgan. You have new orders, Captain. Take the Defiant and strike at Council targets. Make them feel what our colonies felt. Make them fear human space. Morgan stood. Yes, sir. Later, as Morgan walked with her senior officers back to the Defiant, Commander Douglas moved beside her. Are we really going to use that super weapon? He asked quietly. Morgan looked at him, her face troubled. I don't know, Frank. I hope we don't have to. But I will do whatever it takes to protect Earth. As they approached the Defiant, docked in Earth orbit, Morgan could see repair crews finishing work on minor damage from the previous battle. How long until we're ready to depart? She asked Green. 6 hours, Captain. I've already loaded the new weapon protocols. Morgan nodded. Then we have 6 hours to decide what kind of people we want to be when this war is over. 3 months had passed since the U.S. Defiant began its campaign against the Galactic Council. The human warship moved like a ghost through enemy space, appearing without warning at military bases, shipyards, and supply depots. 7 major Council installations across 5 star systems lay in ruins. Captain Lisa Morgan sat in her quarters, reviewing reports on her tablet. She looked tired. The door chimed. Enter, she called. Commander Frank Douglas stepped inside. Captain, Lieutenant Pierce wants to see you. He says it's urgent. Morgan nodded. Ryan Pierce was the ship's AI specialist and data analyst. Send him in. Pierce was young with messy brown hair and bright eyes. He clutched his tablet like it might try to escape. Captain, I found something while analyzing the data we took from the Krax outpost, he said. What is it, Lieutenant? Pierce placed his tablet on her desk and opened a star map. I believe I've found Sanctum. Morgan's eyes widened. Sanctum was the secret capital of the Galactic Council, the place where the ruling tribunal met. Its location was the Council's most closely guarded secret. Are you sure? Pierce nodded. The data patterns match what our intelligence said to look for. It's here, in the Antares sector. He pointed to a star on the map. Good work, Lieutenant. Send the coordinates to the bridge. We'll set course immediately. After Pierce left, Morgan sat back in her chair. Finding Sanctum could change everything. If they could strike at the heart of the Council's power, maybe this war could end sooner. On the medical deck, Dr. Maria Lopes finished treating Lieutenant Ben Harris for insomnia. Harris worked at the weapons station on the bridge. Lately, he had trouble sleeping. The nightmares are getting worse, Harris said quietly. I keep seeing those colonies we found, the ones the Council destroyed. But sometimes, in my dreams, it's us doing the destroying. Dr. Lopes nodded sympathetically. You're not alone, Ben. Many crew members are struggling with what we've seen, what we've done. How many aliens have we killed, Doc? Thousands? Millions? Are we any better than the Council now? Lopes had no answer. The Defiant had avoided using the superweapon, but their conventional attacks had still caused massive destruction. The ship's intercom interrupted them. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Susan Green worked frantically. Warning lights flashed everywhere. What happened? Commander Douglas asked as he rushed in. Surprise attack, Green replied without looking up from her console. 3 Council ships appeared out of nowhere. They hit us with something new, some kind of energy pulse that affected the phase shift drive. On the bridge, Captain Morgan gripped her chair as the ship shook from another hit. Shields at 40%, called Lieutenant Barnes from her station. Phase shift drive is offline. Return fire, all weapons, Morgan ordered. The Defiant's weapons struck one of the Council ships, breaking it apart, but the other 2 continued their attack. Captain, we can't take much more of this, Douglas said as he returned to the bridge. Morgan's mind raced. Without the phase shift drive, they couldn't escape. They were deep in enemy territory, surrounded by closing Council forces. How long until the drive is repaired? She asked. Chief Green says at least 8 hours, Douglas replied. We don't have 8 hours, Morgan said grimly. Douglas looked at the tactical display. Then his face changed as an idea formed. Captain, I have a plan. It's risky, but it might work. I'm listening, Morgan said. We send a boarding party to that Council battlecruiser. Douglas pointed to the enemy ship on the screen. We capture it and use its communication systems to send false orders to the other Council ships. Morgan considered it, a diversion to give Green time to fix our drive. Douglas nodded. I'll lead the boarding party myself. Morgan didn't like risking her first officer, but they had few options. Do it. Take whoever you need. As Douglas assembled his team, Morgan returned to the view screen. The Council ships were closing in. Everything depended on Douglas's mission now. Good luck, Commander, she whispered. Commander Frank Douglas led his team through the airlock and onto the Council battlecruiser. The boarding party consisted of 6 people. Douglas, 2 security officers, Lieutenant Pierce to hack the alien systems, and 2 engineers to help with the technical aspects of the mission. They moved quickly through the alien ship, encountering light resistance. The Council aliens were not prepared for humans to board their vessel. Most of the crew fled rather than fight. This way to the communications center, Pierce said, following directions on his tablet. The room they entered had strange, curved consoles and floating displays. The aliens inside turned in surprise. Douglas and his team stunned them with quick shots from their weapons. "Pierce, get to work," Douglas ordered. "We need to send those false orders soon." While Pierce connected his tablet to the alien systems, Douglas contacted the Defiant. "Captain, we're in. Pierce is accessing their communications now." "Good work," Morgan replied. "Make it convincing, Commander." On the Defiant, Chief Engineer Susan Green worked frantically to repair the phase shift drive. Her hands moved quickly, connecting wires and replacing damaged parts. "Come on, you beautiful thing," she whispered to the machinery. "Work for me." Meanwhile, on the Council's central world of Sanctum, the ruling tribunal met in an emergency session. The 17 members, each representing a different species in the Council, sat in a circular chamber. "The human ship continues to cause unacceptable damage," said Grohl, the Kryax representative. His reptilian face showed anger. "Our forces cannot stop one vessel. Perhaps we should consider negotiation," suggested Elon of the Voloth. The Voloth were a peaceful species who had initially opposed the plan to subjugate Earth. Grohl slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Negotiate. With primitives. The humans must be destroyed completely." "Yet they have destroyed 7 of our bases and disabled dozens of our ships," Elon countered. "These primitives, as you call them, seem quite capable." Other council members began taking sides. For the first time in centuries, the tribunal was divided. The human attacks had caused deep fractures within the council. Back on the council battlecruiser, Pierce finished his work. "I sent orders for all ships in this sector to move to the Proxima system. I made it look like we detected the Defiant there." Douglas smiled. "Good job. Now let's get some more valuable information before we go." He turned to the engineers. "Download whatever you can from their databases." One of the engineers worked at a console. "Commander, I found something interesting. Internal council communications. It seems there's fighting within the council leadership about how to handle humans." "Download it all," Douglas ordered. "This could be useful." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. "They've discovered us," Pierce said. "Security protocols are activating." "Time to go," Douglas decided. Back to the airlock. They ran through the corridors, heading back the way they came. Council security forces appeared, firing energy weapons at them. One of the security officers fell, hit in the leg. "I've got him," said the other security officer, lifting his wounded comrade. They reached the airlock just as more council forces appeared behind them. Douglas provided covering fire while his team escaped back to the Defiant. Once everyone was through, the airlock sealed. "We're clear, Captain," Douglas reported. "Good timing," Morgan replied. "The enemy ships are moving away, following your false orders. Green has the phase shift drive almost repaired." Later, as the wounded were treated in the medical bay, Douglas and Morgan reviewed the information stolen from the council ship. "This is interesting," Morgan said, looking at her tablet. "The council is starting to break apart over this conflict with us." Douglas nodded. "The Voloth species and several others are questioning the decision to attack Earth." Morgan looked thoughtful. "If the council is dividing, maybe we can use that, turn them against each other." "A new strategy?" Douglas asked. "Yes," Morgan said. "Instead of just attacking their military targets, we become more selective. We spare the Voloth territories and focus on the hardliners like the Kryax." "Fighting a political war as well as a military one," Douglas said, understanding. Morgan nodded. "Exactly. We might not be able to defeat all 17 species in the Council, but if we can break the Council apart, then humanity might have a chance," Douglas finished. For 6 weeks, the Defiant implemented Captain Morgan's new strategy. They attacked Kryax bases and shipyards while avoiding Voloth territories. The plan worked better than expected. Council forces became confused and disorganized as they tried to predict where the humans would strike next. The Defiant was near the edge of Council space when they detected a Voloth diplomatic vessel. Instead of avoiding it, Morgan made a decision that surprised her crew. "Open a channel," she ordered. I want to speak with them." The Volov ship had a sleek design with flowing curves, unlike the aggressive angles of Krayak's vessels. On the view screen, a tall alien with pale blue skin and large silver eyes appeared. "I am Ambassador Elon of the Volov delegation," the alien said in perfect English. "You are the human vessel that has caused such trouble for the Council. I am Captain Lisa Morgan of the U.S. Defiant. You've been learning our language." Elon made a gesture with four-fingered hands. "We believe understanding is the path to peace. May I ask why you contacted us when you have avoided Volov space until now?" Morgan leaned forward. "Because we know the Volov argued against attacking Earth. We think it's time to talk." The meeting took place on the Defiant. Ambassador Elon and two aides transported aboard. Security was tight, but Morgan wanted to show trust. They met in the conference room. Commander Douglas, Lieutenant Pierce, and Chief Green joined Morgan. Dr. Lopes monitored the aliens from afar to ensure they weren't carrying diseases harmful to humans. "Your ship is remarkable," Elon said, looking around. "Now I understand why the Krayaks fear you so much." "Why did the Council attack us?" Morgan asked directly. "What threat did we pose?" Elon's silver eyes seemed sad. "You were not the first. The Council, led by species like the Krayaks, has a policy of subjugating or destroying any civilization that might one day challenge them." The humans exchanged shocked glances. "How many other species?" Douglas asked. "Dozens over the millennia," Elon replied. "When the Volov joined the Council 5 centuries ago, we did not understand this policy. By the time we learned the truth, we were too integrated to leave." Morgan felt cold anger. "And now?" "Now the Council is fracturing because of you," Elon said. "Your Defiant has done what no other species managed. You fought back effectively. You targeted the aggressive species while sparing the peaceful ones. You made a choice that forced others to choose as well." Pierce leaned forward. "Are you saying some Council members want to side with us?" Elon nodded. "The Volov have formed an alliance with 6 other species. We seek independence from the Tribunal's authority." Morgan could hardly believe what she was hearing. "A civil war within the Council?" "Yes," Elon confirmed. "And we request your help. With the Defiant supporting our forces, we can end the Tribunal's rule forever." The meeting lasted hours as they discussed details. When the Volov finally left, Morgan and her officers remained in the conference room. "Can we trust them?" Douglas asked. Morgan looked thoughtful. "Possibly. They're offering us allies when we badly need them." "But if this is a trap," Green started. "Then we'll be in serious trouble," Morgan finished. "Lieutenant Pierce, analyze everything they gave us. Look for inconsistencies or hidden threats." Pierce nodded. "Yes, Captain." Later that night, Morgan stood alone in the observation lounge, staring at the stars. Douglas found her there. "Penny for your thoughts, Captain." Morgan smiled slightly. "Just thinking about home, about Earth." "Do you think this alliance with the Volov could work?" he asked. "I hope so," she replied. "Because if it doesn't, humanity might not survive what comes next." Douglas moved to stand beside her. "Whatever happens, the crew is with you." Morgan nodded, grateful for his support. But deep inside, she felt uneasy. Something about the Volov offer seemed too good to be true. She hoped her instincts were wrong, because the alternative might mean disaster for the Defiant and for Earth. Captain Morgan's instincts had been right. The Volov alliance was a trap. The Defiant arrived at the Procyon star system for the planned joint attack on a Krayak Stronghold. Instead, they found over 200 Council warships waiting, including 3 massive dreadnoughts, each twice the size of the human vessel. It was all a lie, Commander Douglas said as they stared at the tactical display. "The Council divisions, the Volov seeking peace. A perfect trap," Morgan agreed. "They studied our attack patterns and created exactly the right bait." The ship rocked as enemy fire struck the shields. "Shields at 60%, called Lieutenant Barnes. Multiple Council ships approaching from all vectors." Engage phase shift drive, Morgan ordered. Lieutenant Nelson worked his console frantically. Phase shift failing, Captain. They're using some kind of dampening field. For the first time in the war, the Defiant could not escape. Morgan's mind raced through options, each worse than the last. All weapons, fire at will, she ordered. Target the nearest dreadnought. The Defiant fought fiercely. Its advanced weapons tore through several smaller Council ships. But for every vessel they destroyed, 3 more took its place. Slowly, the Council fleet closed in. A massive explosion shook the ship. Warning alarms blared throughout the Defiant. Direct hit to the engine section, Green reported from engineering, her voice strained. Reactor containment failing. Life support damaged on decks 5 through 8. Morgan looked at Douglas. They both knew what this meant. Begin evacuation, she ordered. All non-essential personnel to escape pods. Captain, Douglas protested, we can't abandon the Defiant. Morgan's face was grim. We're not abandoning her, Commander. We're ensuring Earth has fighters left for the next battle. She activated the ship-wide comm. This is the captain. All crew except bridge officers and engineering teams proceed to escape pods immediately. Set course for Voloth space. Voloth space, Douglas questioned. They betrayed us. Yes, but the pod stealth systems might get our people through. It's their best chance. Morgan turned to him. You should go with them. Frank, lead them home. Douglas straightened. My place is here, Captain. In engineering, Chief Engineer Green worked frantically on the reactor systems. Warning lights flashed everywhere as the ship took more hits. Then she noticed something strange on her display. The alien technology at the heart of the Defiant systems was showing energy patterns she had never seen before. As the reactor approached critical levels, these patterns became stronger. Green touched her comm badge. Captain, I'm seeing something unusual in the alien tech integration. I think the ship is trying to tell us something. On the bridge, Morgan was organizing the final stand as Green's message came through. What do you mean, Susan? The patterns remind me of the phase shift drive, but different, like it wants to go somewhere else entirely. Morgan made a quick decision. Do whatever the alien systems are suggesting. We have nothing to lose. Green took a deep breath and entered commands to follow the energy patterns. Activating unknown protocol, she reported. Whatever happens next, it's been an honor, Captain. The Defiant began to glow with strange light. On the bridge, the view screen showed the Council ships closing in for the kill. Whatever you're doing, Susan, do it fast, Morgan said. The light grew brighter, surrounding the ship completely. Council weapons fire passed harmlessly through where the Defiant had been. Inside, the crew felt a strange sensation, as if they were both everywhere and nowhere at once. The ship seemed to stretch and compress simultaneously. When the sensation ended, they found themselves in unfamiliar space. No Council ships were visible. Where are we? Douglas asked, looking at the strange star patterns on the view screen. Lieutenant Pierce checked his instruments. Unknown, sir. These stars don't match any known configuration in our database. Green's voice came over the comm. Captain, I think I understand what happened. The alien technology had a hidden function, a dimensional phase capability. We're in some kind of alternate space. Morgan looked around at her remaining crew. They were damaged but alive, lost but free. Send a message to the escape pods, she ordered. Tell them we survived. And then, let's figure out where we are and how to get home. She turned to look at the strange stars on the view screen. This isn't over. The Council thinks they've won, but they've just given us time to become stronger. And when we return, they won't know what hit them, Douglas finished.